Good afternoon. And today we have a pleasure of interviewing our guest, Mr. Peter Beckwith. Actually, he is the voice of dental sleep medicine. And today we're going to hear his wonderful story, how his personal story become his life inspiration in a way. So good afternoon, Peter.
Hi, Maria. How are you?
Nice to be here with you. So thank you for our audience. If you have trouble sleeping or sleep next to the snoring partner, please click the like and share button. It would be nice for you to spread the word about our channel, and it can help your family and friends. If you're a medical professional, this interview is going to be especially useful to you. Please use our channel as a networking ground. This way, together, we can find all missing puzzle of that really dangerous disease called obstructive sleep apnea, or in general, when people cannot sleep and breathe in the same time, nothing good happen with their overall health in the long run. So I'm going to introduce Peter's story to us, which is also very reflective. He's a perfect example of that sleep and breathing situation and how he finds a solution for that. So Peter is the president and creative director of Med Rose Media, creative marketing agency based in Agora Hills, California. And he graduated from Cornell, and he spent 20 years helping corporations and medical professionals to make their voice heard with story-based marketing. And especially his agency focused on airway health. And he's helping professionals like myself, dentists and orthodontists who want to broadcast a message about the importance of airway health. So my first question to you, Peter, please share with us inspiration besides starting your podcast called Airway Chronicle and your passion for exploring topics related to airway health. I just didn't mention in the introduction, but you are host of the Airway Chronicle podcast, and you can find the link to that podcast underneath the interview.
Sure. Well, what happened was Howie Hendon, who is the founder of the AAPMD and the Foundation for Airway Health, approached me, and he said to me that he was noticing that there were a lot of podcasts that were dealing with the medical side of airway health issues and sleep-related breathing disorder issues, but there weren't any podcasts that were telling the human tale. So in other words, what is the trajectory, the story, the path, the journey of the patients and or the practitioners from a spiritual or an internal perspective? Because as we go through challenges in life, we also go through internal battles, conflicts, wins, losses, and changes that are very important to what happens on the outside. And that's been my sort of niche that I've been in my entire career, is helping to get underneath the surface of what we can see to how people are actually feeling and what their spiritual journey looks like as they go down their path. Howie thought it would be interesting to have a podcast that focused more on the human tale than it did on the medicine and the technology.
Thank you. And I just want to mention what we interviewed Dr. Hendon on our channel, and his interview is great. And you can listen after our interview and listen again. We got a lot of valuable information. But can you please tell us about your journey in a both way as a founder of marketing company catering to dental sleep medicine, and what inspired you, specifically you, to focus on that niche?
Well, before Bill Hang moved to Los Angeles and opened his orthodontic practice here, he was practicing in a small town in Vermont where I was living at the time. That was back in the mid 90s. And I owned a small video production company, and Bill and his wife, Debbie, came into the office and asked us to put together a promotional video so that he could promote his new practice in Los Angeles. And at that time, he was just dealing with facial growth guidance and the aesthetic aspects of a face that grew forward and up as opposed to down and back. Mm-hmm. And about 6 or 7 years later, I reconnected with him when my oldest daughter, who was 11 at the time, needed orthodontic treatment. And as a result of that, became a freelancer with him, with Bill and Debbie as my only client for about 10 years. And during that 10 years, we realized that the things that Bill were doing was affecting the airway, and that I had airway problems myself. So as time went on, I became more and more invested in what Bill was doing and what other airway practitioners around the country were starting to do after he kind of, blazed the trail. And as my own health issues became more and more challenging, I got more and more passionate about spreading the word about what a compromised airway really can do to the human body if it's left unattended and untreated over time.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your own story. So we're going to talk about, dental sleep medicine and marketing. That's the challenge I'm facing for the last 15 years, how to make my message heard. And of course, it's always, entailing a personal story and all this struggle, just like you like to uncover from the spiritual part. So we have a very specialized field. And how do you tailor marketing strategy? What you recommend to your clients, which are dentists and orthodontists, to reach target audience effectively? And what should we do?
Sure. What we talk to our doctors about is the concept of 1 + 1 = 3. So the one of your personal brand is a thought leader in the airway health movement, plus the one of your practice being focused on people with airway problems. If that's communicated properly to your local community through the voices of your patients, your peers, your team members, and yourself, the one of your personal brand plus the one of the practice brand over time will equal 3 instead of 2. So what we suggest is that in order to continue to not just survive, but thrive in an age of DSOs and corporate medicine, you really have to set yourself apart as a human that wants to heal people and is an expert at doing that. And also as a business person who's created a boutique, a wellness center, a practice that really caters to their individual and specific needs.
I like how you put that formula, 1 + 1 = 3. It's very powerful, I think. And asking you, delve a little bit deeper. What are key marketing challenges faced by dentists who want to succeed in dental sleep medicine and orthodontics focusing on airway health? And how do you help us to overcome those challenges?
Maria, the answer to that question is they're usually trying to do too much. And I think that's not exclusive to dentists and orthodontists. I think those of us who are high achievers all try to take on too much. But when it comes to marketing, I like the rule of 3. So pick 3 things that you're really, really good at, that you're very passionate about, and probably most important, that your patients want and need. So I think what I see happening more often than not is dentists who are wanting to not let go of anything. So they want to promote their entire general and restorative practice along with their airway focused dental and orthodontic services. And it becomes overwhelming and it becomes too much information to sort through. So it's really about taking the time to understand who you are, why you are that way, who you can help, and how you can help them, and use those 3 pillars as the foundation for a marketing program that you take a long-term perspective on. Marketing is no different than any other kind of investing. My parents were school teachers. What school teachers do is they sacrifice short-term income for long-term security. I see marketing as the same way. It's a short-term investment, but if you stick with it over the long term and you stay true to your brand and your strategy that creates return on the performance side, over time, that investment will pay off.
That's like a, beautiful, it's a wisdom. It's basically, I can say the biggest, like if you put it in a short version, what would you say the biggest mistake we do? I want you to repeat it for me.
The biggest mistake that dentists and orthodontists make, in my opinion, in marketing is they try to do too much and say too much. They don't take the time to distill their message down into the 3 most important points they're wanting to communicate.
And now I'm going to ask you practical things about that biggest mistake and how to, not to make the mistake or overcome a mistake. What should be the marketing strategy? How you develop that marketing strategy with the people who come to you for help?
Sure. Well, the general tools that we use to develop a strategy are the same for everyone, but everybody's strategy is unique to them. So the first thing that you need to do is create an identity for yourself and your practice. We call that a brand identity. And the way I suggest doing that is to take an hour with me where I can interview you or somebody like me who can interview you and write a founder story. A founder story basically says, this is who I was before I realized airway was a big issue in my life and the lives of many other people. and this is who I am now. This is why I changed, and this is what's attractive about me as a result of that change. So really getting in touch with who you are as a human and who you are as a healthcare provider, and then translating that to an audience that's going to be attracted to you as a thought leader and a healthcare practitioner in your community, and then putting a practice in place that supports your thought leadership and your medicine. That's the general strategy.
It's very concise but powerful. And digital marketing, it's so essential in today's world, and it's very frustrating for the dentists. And what digital strategy do you recommend for dental sleep medicine practitioners and orthodontists who are seeking to enhance their online presence without going crazy, still, staying in a mental health kind of realm?
Yeah, very few people are set out to be social media stars. If you're one of them, then you probably don't need a company like mine for much. If you can build a social media following of 100,000 or 200,000 people on your own, then that's something that you should definitely do. That will pay huge dividends. That not being the case, what's wonderful about the digital platforms is that there are so many of them, and you only need one to hit in order for you to hit your growth goals. So again, it's the same mistake. I see dentists trying to be all things to all people in all places, and it just doesn't work. So if your audience is on Instagram, then design a paid media campaign that you can test and build over time that gets to your audience on Instagram. Same thing for Facebook, same thing for TikTok, same thing for Snapchat, same thing for LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, but pick a horse and ride it is really the best digital marketing strategy that you can get to. Digital marketing is like anything else. We have to walk before we can run, and we need to learn from our mistakes, and there will be mistakes.
And how do you leverage the content marketing to educate and engage potential patients of importance of dental sleep medicine and orthodontic airway health?
Sure. The best way to do that is with a content strategy. And again, that's just taking some time to plan out what you want to do and how you want to do it. And what I talk to my dentists about a lot is the full mouth reconstruction. If I walked into your office and said, get going, start right now, there's not a dentist in the country that would do that. They would say, no, we can't. We actually have to do some diagnostics first. Then we need to work up your case and understand what your problems are. Then we need to come up with a plan that works for us and works for you. Then we need to execute that plan in stages. And that's going to take us some time. Any kind of strategy related to marketing, whether it's your digital marketing strategy, your digital footprint strategy, or your digital content strategy, needs to take the same approach. What problems are you having that you want to solve? Then once we really understand what the problems are, now we can come up with a strategy to create some content that solves those problems and get it in front of the people who actually have those problems. So strategy is key. And it's the step we all want to skip. We just want to get to it. But that's not the best way to go. The analogy of the full mouth reconstruction really resonates with dentists and orthodontists. They're like, I would never just start pulling teeth without doing the imaging. I'm like, well, it's kind of what you're asking me to do with your content strategy. And it's not going to work. So that tends to be a good analogy.
And, that being said, can you please share the successful case study when your marketing strategy significantly impact the growth of dental sleep medicine or maybe orthodontic practice focused on airway health?
Yeah, the biggest success story that I've been involved with outside of Dr. Hang, obviously, but that was a 25-year journey. But in the new generation of dentists is a man named Dr. Jim Bieneman in Denver. And, Jim gives us what I think is a little bit too much credit for some of his success. All I can really do as a marketer is tell the truth about what's going on in the operation. The operation and the practice and the doctor have to deliver on those promises. So what Jim did is he became very competent in his airway focused dentist, and he does a lot of orthodontics. He helps kids and adults. Then he hired us to help him clarify his message, articulate the message, advertise the message. Then he created a study club where he could build a bridge between the dental community in Denver, the medical community in Denver, and the holistic community in Denver, including myofunctional therapists, SLPs, OMTs, the whole thing, to as a community service so that they could collaborate and get better patient outcomes in that community. We did our part and continue to do our part in communicating all those messages in a way that resonates. But Jim did the bulk of the heavy lifting by laying out a strategy for caring for patients and creating relationships that was going to be in the best interest of patient outcomes and his goals as an orthodontist. He now owns 4 practices in the greater Denver area, and he's doing very, very well.
No, that's inspiring story. And tell me, it's very hard, it's very dynamic world. Everything constantly changing. How you do keep your strategies up to date for dental and orthodontic industry?
Sure. That's a great question. And the way we do it is the same thing I suggest to my dentist, which is pick a focus and stay disciplined on the focus. All of my clients are airway aware or airway focused. So we're constantly on the cutting edge of what they're doing. And I have a team here that can then translate what they're doing to the new platforms that come out as those platforms get traction. So it's not as difficult for us to stay current when we stay focused. When we've lost focus, which we have, and every human does and every business does, that's when it gets more difficult to stay on top of trends because we're running in too many directions at once. So what I found, as long as we're staying on top of what's going on in the airway movement, we don't have any trouble staying on top of the digital marketing strategies.
I really like what you mentioned in our previous conversations, what you get experience from one practice and bring to another, like you cross-pollinating, which I think we all have great ideas, but in a way we're very dislocated. We cannot get together even with some seminars. It's only bits and pieces. I'm trying to connect the community on the social media. You're doing, similar thing with your, with the wisdom
Yeah, we're at the point now, we're in our 5th year at Mad Rose. We've worked for 100 clients. We have 50 active clients right now. So we can take the ideas that are working for client A and bring them to client B, and the ideas that aren't working for client B, and tell client C they want to stay away from those strategies. And that's what I referred to in the prep for the interview as cross-pollinating. And it's a very, very valuable process, mostly for the clients, where I can share practical experience about what is working around the country for different practitioners who are trailblazing in the world of airway health.
Yeah, I think it's really a great idea. And tell me, I'm on the social media. What role social media play in the marketing of dental sleep medicine, and what's most effective platform to get the target audience?
I don't think there's any one specific answer to that question that applies to everybody. There are several, you do very well on YouTube. Carla and Loria down in Dallas do very well on Instagram. Rachel Barnhart in Northern California does very well on TikTok. So a lot of it really, marketing is, I've said this earlier in the interview, but investing in marketing is like investing your money. If you stick with it consistently over time, eventually you will start to get returns if you're willing to learn from your mistakes and stick with what works. So if I'm an introvert that doesn't like being in front of a camera, then Instagram Reels or TikTok is not going to be for me. Probably an audio podcast or a written blog is going to work for me. Podcasts are fantastic marketing tools if you stick with them over time and stay focused. And a lot of people still read blogs. So from an unpaid media perspective, the best thing to do is that which you enjoy and doesn't feel like work and you're willing to stick with over time.
And now I have a last question. Please tell me, as a podcast host of Airway Chronicles, how this platform help in your marketing effort for dental sleep medicine and orthodontic airway health? Like, what's your personal impact in our industry?
Well, I'm a believer in what's called educational marketing. It's what I suggest that my doctors do, and it's what I do. So everything on my podcast and being a guest on your podcast, my goal here is not to bring more clients into Mad Rose. That may happen, but my goal is to just get information out there that will help forward-thinking doctors promote themselves so that patients will wind up in their chairs instead of in the chair of a dentist that can't help with an airway-related problem. My experience has been that when I keep my motives right on programs like this, and I'm offering real educational value to whatever audience that I connect with, then the growth of my business tends to take care of itself. So when it comes to healthcare, what we have found so far in our development over the last 5 years, and what I've seen in the airway movement over the last 25 years, is that educating patients simply to help them to get the best outcomes on their health goals is what will grow your practice faster and better than anything else.
Thank you very much. It's such a sincere word, and I really like it. Like most of my guests are medical professionals or patients. Like you little bit different, but in a way fit very well. And I really appreciate it's a practical advice. It's very easy to have a wonderful goals, but not to have a vehicle to get to that. So you are a real vehicle for us. So thank you very much, Peter, for all the wonderful work you do and what you're so passionate about this area. And we're going to put, I really recommend our listeners to listen to your Airway Chronicle podcast, and we're going to put the link under the interview. And we wish you a lot of success on every day and inspiration.
Well, it's great. It was great. Thanks for taking the time to spend with me. I really had a good time.